the speaker is recorded. So I'll turn off the recording for questions in the afters if anyone isn't comfortable being recorded for that. You are very, very welcome to the Empowered Email Marketing Session 2 List Building and Strategy session. This is the second of 3 sessions. I'll talk a little bit about the third and final session in September at the end of our time together this afternoon. But generally, you are going today covering some of the fundamentals building on the back of our last session together. So we'll remember the overwhelmed dump truck. The overwhelmed dump truck is a staple in my life. I see it parked in my brain space all the time. If at any point today you feel that this is a lot of information and it feels like a lot of homework to take and go off and do this afternoon, being aware that you are already taking this time out to learn a little bit should help put the overwhelmed dump truck back into the garage where it belongs, because this is not an overnight success story. Email marketing is not something that you watch a TED talk about and then go off and run your empire from. It is a slow to grow channel. There are lots of steps and experimentations and opportunities for success and failure that come with the channel, as with anything. So the overwhelmed dump truck is here to remind us that we are learning. We are not perfectionists. We are just in the case of building off of our themes and pieces to know from our first session. Now we're going to cover some of the actions to take to start email marketing. So that first session that we had together was last month. I know it seems crazy that it was only end already a month ago, but we talked about tips and terms to know. So during that session, we covered fundamental things such as language around your list, language around your deliverability terms. So things like open rate, close, unsubscribe rate, things like that. So if you haven't yet, if you're watching this as a recording and you haven't yet caught up on part one is on our YouTube channel as well as on the website. And I would recommend you can watch them individually or you can watch them together. But generally, the design of these 3 sessions is to build on top of each other. So we are going to take what we covered in session 1 today and work a little bit on the scaffolding and decoration piece. So today, we're going to look at how to build an email list ethically and effectively. We're going to talk about how to attract your audience using a combination of paid and organic techniques. And finally, we're going to talk about how to plan a simple, sustainable 3-month sending schedule. So I like to try and keep these sessions to an hour, if not under an hour. So we'll see where we are this morning, but we're going to go through the 3 subject areas, have plenty of time for questions and things like that. But generally, hopefully I'll have us out of here before the hour is up, just because I like to make sure that these are short and sweet and to the point for anyone joining us today, which I am delighted to have you here, and for anyone watching the recording. So going ahead and starting to talk about building your email list. So when you are building your email list, it is not just necessarily prospective clients that you are talking to. It could be your previous customers, it could be prospective or potential customers, as well as general community members. So anybody who runs a business knows that if you made a sale from every single person you talked about your business to, you'd be the next Jeff Bezos. But anybody who runs a real business knows that there are different categories of people that are crucial to your business, right? So you have the customers, you have the potential customers, and then you have your advocates or your community members. So there may be folks who are in your community that are really good friends of yours that are there to show up and support you in your corner and share words about the business. There may be folks who don't have the budget for your product or service at the moment, but they love to learn more about the area and industry that you exist in and where you work. So they would be lurkers would be kind of a word for them. They would just sort of be, they aren't necessarily purchasing yet, but they're there and they're learning about the product and they're learning about the service. So that would be your community. So your community exists of your potential and existing customers, as well as folks who are interested in learning from you as a value-based information expert giver in your industry or select area. So it's really important when we're talking about building our email list to not necessarily think of it as a list of customers. Because if we think of our email as a list of customers, then we start to think of our email as a cash point. So we start to think of our email as a way to just think, oh, it's been a slow month. I'm going to go ahead and do a 15% off website wide sale. And I'm going to send that email tomorrow morning. And I'm going to make 200 euro in an hour because the website is on sale. Okay. Yeah, you may. But then the instance may be that you hadn't sent an email for 2 months before. That email may show up. People may be confused why they're receiving an email, let alone why they're receiving a promotion in the middle of the week. There might not be any explanation around it. There's a lot of reasons why we use our email list, but I really steer away from the idea of using our email list specifically for sales. It's a sales channel, but it's also a community building tool. So we look at how to build our list and we think, how do we get people to join, right? We do it through a combination of organic and paid techniques, which we'll talk about pretty in depth for the time we have together this morning in a moment or two. Something to keep in mind when you are talking to your potential audience, so this is before they subscribe to your email list, is that however they interact with you with the invitation to subscribe, it needs to be with them in mind. So much like that example of you've had a dry couple weeks, you think you do a promotion, you'll make a little bit of money back, that'll cover the bills, da 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 da. Your customer doesn't, in the nicest possible sense, care. Your customer cares because you make a product which is relevant to them at that time, relevant to a problem, need, or want that they have. And you talk to them of saying, you know, we're in the 3rd month of the summer, but people are starting to think about going back to school. Here are some things from our product range or from our service list, which speak to the points and the stresses that you're having at this moment in time, not necessarily just saying, surprise, flash sale. So when we look at addressing our potential subscribers, again, those potential customers, those existing customers, and those community members, we need to always think in mind, what is in it for them? What is in it for the customer? Why are they subscribing? They're not subscribing to be a sales point for you. They're subscribing for something else. So what is that thing they're subscribing for? Are they looking for information around a subject area that you are developing an expertise or a status as an expert in that area? Are they looking for that? Are they looking for tips or tricks around a vertical in your industry? So do you offer home cleaning and you have wonderful tips about how to take out, you know, stains from carpets? That's a type of expertise. Are you someone who has designed a product which will take, you know, it will cut the time of doing dishes in half? That is an expertise. That is why someone subscribes to your list, not just to buy. They subscribe to your list to learn and to see a little bit behind the scenes of the business and to learn why your product or service is a good fit for them, not the other way around. So you need to prioritize the relevance of your content to your subscriber more than anything. And just being aware, I say this in one-on-ones, I say this in sessions, I say this, I could have it tattooed on my forehead at this point. A smaller engaged audience list is better than a massive list that does nothing. So if you are looking at taking your Instagram subscribers, and let's be honest, I usually use the example of 45,000. It'd be amazing if you had 45,000 Instagram followers. If you're looking at taking your 2,000 Instagram followers that you've spent 6 years building up that audience, and you know their style, you know what they're into, you know what they respond to, if you want to reasonably start moving them over to an email list, you may get 80 in your first sign up. You may get 100 of that 2,800 or whatever number it is. You are less likely to convert your whole following on social media to your email list. And that's not the worst thing in the world, because moving them from your social media to your email list is an expression of interest when they make the step over to join your email list. It's also really important because if social media goes away tomorrow, you have those 80 emails of people who are very interested in engaging with you and who want to support your business and want to see it succeed. So it's always important to be aware that this is, while it is a numbers game in the end, we need to be realistic about that. A small but engaged list does a lot more than a massive list that's not really giving you any feedback or any reaction. So we need to talk a little bit about GDPR. GDPR is wonderful in the sense that it has a lot of bumpers on like when you're bowling, it's bumpers on your decisions that you're making about email marketing. So you can't buy a list or just add someone because they gave you their business card. Buying a list is sometimes done. It's not so much done in GDPR regions, it's more done in the States, but it's the idea of, particularly in B2B business, which I talk a lot about B2C, but I know some people who are here today and who are watching in the recording are B2B, so I'll try and generalize that a little bit more for you. But buying a list is the instance of going and buying data. So you can't do that with GDPR. So you are building your list. If you're building your list within Ireland, you are generally building it from the likes of the organic and paid opportunities that we're going to talk about this morning. But generally, you have to make it clear for people for what they're signing up for. So you need to say you're going to receive marketing materials, discounts, whatever it is. Most email providers, MailChimp, Klaviyo, Squarespace, even Wix, most MailChimp providers or most email providers will have this built into their sign up language. So this is a question I get a lot of the time. People get very nervous. They say, Liz, I want to start doing email marketing, but I don't want to fall foul of the GDPR. If you are following the steps of a veritable email service provider operating within Ireland or the EU, you will generally be okay with the GDPR. They have put the false steps in to catch kind of the necessities of what you need to say when and where, and just being aware that you need to make unsubscription a very clear and eligible option on all of your emails. So I get this question sometimes for people who are trying to do this in a budget effective way. They may not want to use the MailChimp or Klaviyo or a paid service. They are asking me, can they use their Google, or they are already using their Gmail to send emails, business emails or branded emails. That's a whole other thing that we covered in session 1, but generally several of the reasons that's not going to work is that it's not GDPR compliant, as well as the fact that it doesn't automatically offer the unsubscribe option for your subscribers. Or in that instance, I get them all the time, you get them all the time as business owners, the kind of, the cold B2B style emails of, can I grab 15 minutes of your time to talk to you about social media marketing, such and such and such. Those are cold sales emails. They're not breaking any GDPR laws by doing that, but they aren't necessarily following best practice by doing that. So following GDPR, just being aware of it and being aware that you don't need to super worry about it as long as you're using a good service provider to send your emails. Permission-based marketing is the bigger term for GDPR. Your list should be made up of people who choose to be on your list, not people who have sort of left their email with you for another reason, and then you think you just add them because that was an expression of interest. You have to get specific consent that they're interested in marketing. One of the ways we do this is with a double opt-in system. So the double opt-in system is getting very, very popular in Ireland and the UK. And by very, very, I mean it's coming up more and often. It's where you ask someone to subscribe and then they subscribe again via an email in their inbox. So at the moment, a lot of people are collecting emails via sort of the one-step process where I land on a website, I see a pop-up form, I put my email in, I get an email that says here's 15% off our website, I use that code, I become a customer. The double opt-in feature is just a little bit more secure because you are putting an extra step in. I visit the website, I get a pop-up, I put my details in, I get an additional email that says, are you sure you wanted to subscribe to Liz's newsletter? I say yes, I get the 15% off discount. So the reason the double opt-in is important, one is it's good for GDPR and for just overall sort of good practice and good hygiene for doing emails. But secondly, it really makes sure that your list of email subscribers, again, going back to the point about small is powerful, are very engaged. So you're going to the step already of someone subscribing to the newsletter, which is great. But then if they're going through a second step of subscribing, they are very interested in being there. So the two-step opt-in, some people worry, oh, well, that's going to turn people off because they won't want to go through the process of signing up a second time. It's not the worst thing in the world. It actually just indicates that they haven't expressed interest two times over in subscribing. So it's not something to hugely worry about. Service providers will give you the option to set them up. If it's something that sounds right to you, go for it. It's not mandatory yet, but it could be in the future. So some questions to ask yourself as we go into our morning talking about organic, paid, and strategy. So who are you trying to reach and why should they care? Where are they in your customer journey? Are they new? Are they researching? Are they a repeat customer? What experience are they going to have with you? And what's the next step that you want them to take? Do you want them to visit your website to read a blog about your product design? Do you want them to book a call with you? Do you want them to buy a product? These are all things that you want to have front of mind as you are starting to design the attraction for building your list. So finally, we keep these questions in mind. And then perhaps the biggest question is, how do we reach them? How do we find these potential subscribers? We do it with the balance of organic and paid list building. So organic and paid, if you've done any digital marketing so far for your business or for your business idea, organic is the process of sort of you're putting the energy, you're putting the input into the output, but you aren't investing anything directly into the creation of content, into the advertising of content. Paid is different. So paid is you are creating the content and then you are investing something in the promotion or advertisement of that content. There is no way around it. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. Social media is behaving differently than it did a year ago to 4 years ago to 5 years ago. I did a podcast with .ie a few months ago where we had a good chat about sort of this mindset that happened during COVID, which was that social media was everybody was home, everybody was using social media organically. A lot of small businesses benefited from that because people were home, they were on their phones record amounts. So a lot of small businesses, the social media platforms, the demigods that run them, decided that they would keep people on the apps and they would keep people on the websites by making them a positive experience. Then we all started to go back into society. This is now 4 years, 5 years old at this point. And those small businesses, those small time creators, things like that, they wanted that same hit of natural attention that was coming from what had happened before, but the social media gods had turned it into a paid offering only. So there isn't any point, I think, in building an organic strategy without some element of a paid strategy to it. It's not what people want to hear. It's expensive. It's dicey, but there is no way to use social media organically anymore. It has to be a combination of organic and paid. And it's just there's no nice way to cut it, but that's the truth of it. So when you do a combination of the two, you will see some results. But again, email is a lot about experimentation. It's a lot about making sure that you have your customer front of mind. And it's a lot about reviewing those goals that we're going to set and tweaking them and making them work for us. So if all of that seems overwhelming, it's okay. It is overwhelming. It is designed to be overwhelming. As I said, Overwhelmed Dump Truck, you are not going to figure all of this out today. What we are doing today is we are just getting familiar with, it's like going to the gym and picking up the weights. You're picking up the weights. You're getting the idea of, okay, this is how heavy this is. And then you go over and you pick one that's 50 pounds more and you go, oh, I am not there yet, but I can see it over there. I know it's over there. So if I work with this enough, I'll get over to that point. Everything we're going to talk about today is not a step-by-step guideline for things. I focus more on foundations, kind of getting all of that warmed up. And then you yourselves, you are entrepreneurs, you are creative individuals, you have interacted with these types of list gen tools or these list gen techniques in your own day-to-day life. You see them in your own life. Now is just the time when you learn how they work to recognize them more and see if they would fit to your business idea. So organic list building is the process of growing your email list naturally through free methods like website forms, social media, in-person events, things like that. So we've got a list here. We're going to walk through each of these. I spend probably the most time today on organic because I understand as entrepreneurs we don't have unlimited budgets. So I want to talk about kind of the organic pieces, and then we'll talk about how we can use them as part of a paid strategy. So today we're going to talk about optimized sign-up forms, lead magnets, social media, how to get people to sign up for your mailing list at events and in person, and the importance of referrals. So don't worry about taking all this down. We have a slide for each of them. So optimized sign-up forms are a sign-up form that collects email addresses directly from your website. You can put this anywhere, and I recommend putting it everywhere. You can put it on your homepage. You can create a contact page. You can use it as a pop-up. You can put it in your website footer. If you are selling a service, you can use this in your outreach emails. You can suggest that someone book a call with you or subscribe to your newsletter. You can, if you are selling a product and your customer gets to the point where they are on your website, they've gone to the product page, they've added it to their cart, they've checked out. Right before they check out, they can subscribe to your newsletter. So you can capture subscribers at the newsletter stage as well. This is something I didn't plan on addressing this morning, but which I will explain. If you have someone who is already a newsletter subscriber who subscribes to your newsletter again, they will not receive everything twice. So you don't need to worry about having too many sign-up places. There's no such thing as too many sign-up places. Having places for people to sign up in different ways, in different formats, in different touch points is very, very important. Making sure that it speaks to your email provider on the back end. So making sure this has happened every single time I've talked to a client about doing their email. I go onto their website, I sign up to their newsletter via their footer, and I don't get anything. So that doesn't mean that's the founder needs to be sitting in a little room like this and hitting send every time someone subscribes to the newsletter. It just means that the system isn't speaking. So the system is collecting the emails, but there might not be anything set up to go out when someone subscribes. There might not be anything set up to go out when someone purchases or when someone views a product. And these are ways that our email can work in the background while we are doing other things. So a sign-up form is a generalized term for basically the box or anywhere on your website that someone subscribes to your newsletter. Pop-ups. We're going to talk about pop-ups for a second. A lot of people need to get over the fact that they don't want to bother people with their emails. If people didn't want to receive emails from you, they would not subscribe to your emails. A lot of people do not like pop-ups in their own individual browsing online experience. Unfortunately, pop-ups work. Pop-ups are proven to work. Pop-ups are here to stay. So just like I suggest, we kind of get used to the fact that people subscribe to our email list to actually hear from us. Pop-ups are a guaranteed part of the e-commerce experience. They are, for better or worse, they're going to be here. They're going to work the way that they do, and they're going to work for you. So some ways that you can make a pop-up as a sign-up form work for you that won't necessarily break your soul would be you can set up a pop-up through your email provider. So if you're using MailChimp, you can set up a pop-up. You can set something up to pop up on the screen 3, 5, 7 seconds after someone is on a web page. You can set it up to appear after someone takes 2 or 3 scrolls on a web page. It doesn't need to be the first thing that comes up into someone's face. You can also then set the pop-up to show up every 30 days. So if someone visits the website again within 30 days, their information is tracked via cookies, they're not going to receive the pop-up again. So you can tweak how your pop-ups show up. They don't have to show up on every single web page every single time someone visits. That's not necessarily going to be productive use. The productive use of pop-ups would be just making sure that they are showing up consistently and in the right places. So I have an example here of this is a pop-up. So both of my examples are from Designist in Town in Dublin, the independent shop. This is a great example of a pop-up for their email list. So they use different language. It's not necessarily sign up here for marketing. They simply say sign up and be in with a chance to win free gifts for the whole year, receive weekly emails from us, pack full of new product, and the odd discount. So if you subscribe to this newsletter, Jenny, who runs this newsletter, they write them themselves. It's great. It is very much, this sign up is very much on tone with what you're going to receive as the email. So this is very much branded. It matches what the email reads or feels like. And then this is the same page, but with the pop-up gone. This is the footer sign up option. So this is at the bottom of the website. You can put your email in, and it will feed into the same bucket that the pop-up feeds into. So you'll be able to tell via your service provider that you choose to set this up, whether it be MailChimp, Klaviyo, Squarespace, whoever it be, you'll be able to tell how many people clicked the pop-up and joined the mailing list versus how many people used the footer, et cetera, et cetera. So after 30 days, after 60, 90 days, after you set a window to review, you can go back and say, okay, 90 people subscribed via the footer, 7 subscribed via the pop-up. Why aren't they liking the pop-up? Oh, well, it's not, it's showing up on product pages. They don't really want it on product pages, but it's not showing up on the first page that they land on, the landing page. They're not getting that discount or that offer. They're getting it too late in the game and it's annoying them there. So let's move it up. And then in 30 to 60 days, you may say, okay, 28 people signed up via the pop-up. The footer banner is still doing really well, so that's good. But what can we do to make the pop-up work differently? So the first step of organic lead collection is having a place for the leads to go, which would be your sign-up box. The next step would be offering a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is a freebie or incentive that encourages people to subscribe. You can use a discount code, you can use a downloadable guide, you can use VIP offers, you can use a checklist, a calendar. I worked with a supplement brand, and one of our lead magnets was a smoothie recipe book. One of the supplements was good for XYZ, so we literally created a smoothie recipe book, and the only difference from everybody else who was using that smoothie recipe book was we put in the supplements. So it's not rocket science. It just needs to be something that appeals to your audience. So if you are an illustrator and you are someone who has adult coloring books as part of your product offering, your lead gen pop-up, lead magnet, all of these kind of click together. Your lead magnet might be sign up to our newsletter and we'll send you a free printable page from one of our coloring books. So yes, you're giving something away, but you're not necessarily really losing anything because you're capturing that email to have as a later opportunity for a sale or conversion. I know independent authors in the States will do this sometimes when they're trying to sell their books or get people to sign up to their newsletters. They might give away, one woman I know gave away a novella. So she wrote a short novella, and that was what you got when you subscribed to her newsletter. Was you, yes, you could buy her books, but when you subscribed to her newsletter, you got a short extra chapter from her, one of her books. And that was a reward or a lead magnet, a reason, an incentive for you to sign up. A lot of people use discounts. Discounts work. If you can't use a discount for your business for whatever reason, if discounting would hurt your business, do not use a discount. Do not use something which is knowingly going to hurt the business as a tool to bring people into the business. It's really, really tempting. I have this conversation every November because in October, I contact everyone I know and I say, are we doing Black Friday? And they go, absolutely not. Amazon is evil. I hate Black Friday. Shop Irish, shop local. And I go, that's great. And then the week of Black Friday, without fail, on the Monday, I get a bunch of emails from people who are panicking because they haven't had sales in 2 weeks and they suddenly want to do Black Friday and they want to do 50% off their website because XYZ big retailer is doing 50% off their website and Take a big old deep breath. If a discount hurts your profit, do not do a discount. You can do something which is more authentic to your business idea. The reality is that people, a lead magnet is going to be something that people smile to receive, they're happy to receive, or they don't even acknowledge that they receive because they were going to subscribe to the newsletter anyway. So making it a creative extension of your business idea is fantastic, but it doesn't necessarily need to be something that you pour a lot of yourself into. You can experiment, you can change, you can do seasonal lead magnets, you can do different types of discounts, you can do all sorts of different things. A lead magnet is simply the incentive we use to try and encourage sign up. I worked with Samantha from Fussy Food Plates to do her lead magnet. So her lead magnet, if you can see there, it says sign up with your email address to receive a free recipe book. So what happens is you subscribe into this little sign up box here. Her system on the back end says Liz has now subscribed. Automatically, I'm sent the welcome email, which includes the lead magnet of the Playful Plates 3 ingredient recipes for little tummies. So this is a downloadable recipe book that we made using her product. So we did 3 recipes using 3 ingredients for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it was an option to use her product and speak to her target market in the same combination as trying to get them to sign up for the newsletter. So a small project. It's what we call in marketing evergreen. It doesn't really expire until you want to really update or rehaul the whole thing. And this can run in the background automatically while you are doing other aspects of business. Organic list building. So using social media organically. Using your platforms to invite followers to sign up and stay connected is the best use of time on social media, in all honesty. I get a lot of people who start working with me for email and then they say, but Liz, how do I get people to subscribe to my email? But then they have no problem going on Instagram stories and posting a reel and this sort of stuff. It's time now to marry the idea of your social media to your newsletter. If you are a B2B business, and I don't have a slide up there for this because it's only occurred to me now. If you are a B2B business and you are considering a newsletter, consider a LinkedIn newsletter. So in this instance, a LinkedIn newsletter is going to be good for B2B. One, because you are already connected in theory to the folks that you need to be speaking to on LinkedIn. A LinkedIn newsletter is one that you can write, and for those who subscribe, it will go to them directly. It will also show up in your social media feed as a post, so as an independent post. This is separate to your MailChimp newsletter. So if you're in B2B business and you want to do a LinkedIn newsletter and a MailChimp newsletter, you can write a MailChimp newsletter, copy paste it into LinkedIn and send it again on LinkedIn. It doesn't need to be a completely second newsletter. It's just a second way for you to use social media to build a newsletter list. You will unfortunately always have two lists because you'll have your LinkedIn list and your MailChimp newsletter list. But if you are doing B2B marketing, I would recommend exploring a LinkedIn newsletter. One, because LinkedIn is currently really promoting newsletters. And two, because it is a good way to just get practice going with reaching out to your ideal customer or your ideal client on social media to try and engage them with valuable information. If you are a B2C or a direct to consumer client or company, then we talk about your Instagram, we talk about your Facebook, we talk about your TikTok. Some ways to grow your email list on your social media. One, you have to have made an email. That's the first step. So you have to create an email account somewhere for them to land in the bucket is the first step. Once you have that made, you're going to put a link to sign up in your bio. So very simple as that. Newsletter sign up in the bio. I'm not a huge fan of link trees. I think link trees get a little bit messy if they're not updated regularly. For anybody who's not aware, link trees are the extension you can use on social media to put several links via one link in your bio. I would prioritize, because I'm an email person, I would prioritize your website, making sure that your email pop-up is set to go, or sending them to your contact us page if that's really what you want to do. But you want to make sure that on your social media, there's always a link to at least your website with a clear sign-up form somewhere for someone to engage with. A poster story explaining the value of your emails. This is a great great social media story, an Instagram story from Studio Bag. She posted a few days ago, over the weekend, about 2 weeks ago now, but she posted that she was going to be sending an exclusive offer to her email subscribers. Sign up to the email list. That was where the exclusive offer was going to be before it was live on the website. And that's how she got people to come over to the list. I don't know this business. I don't know this creator. I don't know the conversion rate for that, but I can guarantee you that getting 6 people to sign up for your email from a free Instagram story is better than having no one sign up for your email. And this took the same amount of time as it would take to post up a picture of your coffee. So it's the principle of just getting used to speaking about having a newsletter and reminding people that it's there. A behind the scenes look at what your subscribers will get will always capture attention. And a reminder that your list gets exclusive updates, tips, or offers. So fundamentally, when we're using social media to talk about our email list, we need to make sure that the link to subscribe is there nice and easy. We also need to communicate, again, going back to the very beginning, that cat that was poking his head around the wall. What is the value for the subscriber? What do they get by receiving your emails? Do they get exclusive access? Do they get an early discount code? Do they get maybe you are a yoga instructor and you do online courses. Maybe they get a free video when they subscribe to your newsletter that they don't get in your normal sort of flow of transaction with them. So it's very important to just like you're sitting there thinking, oh, I need to put something on social media. I don't know what I want to put on social media today. A good backbone of that is email. So saying, saying, I feel like I need to put something on social media today, I'll remind them about my email list, and then supporting it by sending an email. So these are, again, just some of the key steps and strategies. We have an insider knowledge in the track has just dropped that this story did very well for the maker who posted it, which I think is fantastic. It's a great example of using organic social media for list building. Nobody's going to know that you have a email list unless you tell them. That's the truth of it. Nobody's going to know. Events and in person. So a lot of us do trade shows, craft shows, markets, all sorts of good stuff. A lot of us talk to our customers directly. Almost zero of us ask them for their contact details because we're so focused on meeting them in that moment, being in our present self, having our product or talking about our service. And that is someone who could be interested in your product or service, and they walk away from the table and you haven't gotten any form of contact information for them. So one way to avoid this is to have a printed sign-up sheet or clipboard on your table. I know Sophie wasn't able to join us today. She might be watching this back and recording. The Windrush Farm ladies, Sophie and Lucy from Windrush Farm in Wicklow, they do weekend workshops at their space. They have a sign-up board for emails. And halfway through the workshop, Sophie says, by the way, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you can sign up over there. I only send an email once a month. She does her little speech about sending emails. But that works because people come into the space, they're guests that are brought into the space by other people who haven't subscribed or haven't followed on social media. You might think bringing 10 or 12 people into a room, you've got a captive audience of already existing customers. Not the truth at all. You've got maybe the 2 or 3 people who bought the tickets for them and the girlfriend. And now the girlfriend is sitting there and goes, oh, that was a wonderful day. And all it takes is Sophie saying, by the way, remember to sign up for emails by the door, and I'll tell you when our next workshop is. And you've got 4 more emails out of the 12 people who are in the room. So it's a small numbers game, but it's a consistent numbers game. And when you apply regular pressure to it, it will have results. So you can have a printed sign-up sheet or a clipboard to get emails. Just be aware that the handwriting for that can be really, 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 really tricky. So if you are not a fan of trying to decipher hieroglyphics, if you are doing a market or a trade show, you can have a tablet open up with a form for people to sign up. If you hear that and you go, Liz, that feels like complicated stuff. How do I create a form? How does this work? You can do all of that on Google Forms. It's simply the case of catching the emails. I had one client who I worked with at the beginning of this year who doesn't want a website for their business. They do in-person trading and social media sales, and they don't want a website because their product doesn't fit to have a website. So they said, how do I do email marketing without a website? We created a Google form list. So once a month, this person goes in, downloads the names who have signed up for marketing via the Google form and adds them to the MailChimp and sends the email that way. So they skip around having a website, which I don't love because I think businesses should have websites in case social media goes away. But this was the instance. How do I capture the emails? You use a Google form. It's free. You can capture the information. You can put that qualifier about receiving marketing, and you can have the email. It's just a couple extra steps to add it manually, but it will save you on deciphering the hieroglyphics. A QR code that links directly to your form or to your sign-up page. So we talked about having sign-ups on your website. This is a QR code that takes you directly to your page. So on my website on Litter Marketing, I have a contact us page. That is my newsletter page. So when you can ask me a question there, or you can subscribe to the newsletter directly. I do that because I know that that's where I want to send traffic to because I want to promote my newsletter. And finally, you can do a giveaway or freebie in exchange for an email. So in some instances, I've seen this work sometimes well. There will be people who will do a raffle. Maybe they'll take emails at the end, and then somebody at the end of the day will win a gift basket. It's a little bit tricky because if you're there all day as a trader, but the customer might not be there all day. So it's then an instance of getting the email and contacting them and saying that they've won, or et cetera, et cetera. So the freebie model is a trickier one to try and work unless you have a supply of product that you can do the exchange automatically. So if they give you an email, you say, oh, thank you for everybody who's giving an email today. I'm giving a free sample of XYZ, or I'm giving, a print that was slightly off cut, and I would normally go into my clearance, but you can have a selection for free from here, that sort of thing. So whatever incentive you decide to use it in person, fundamentally, just capturing the email and the interest matters. So we have a suggestion from Fiona. She says, I staple a QR code to each bag for sales at events, and it has a double entry sign up that works well for her. She says, people are time poor, and I find that when they put down their purchases that night, they're reminded of the QR code and have time to sign up. That's a great idea. So this is also a reason why we encourage, when you're sending your packages out, to have a QR code to your website, to have a QR code to your newsletter, perhaps on a postcard within the package or something like that. The ability of being able to take away, and then when you get home and you're unboxing or you're putting away, you're putting onto the cabinet and seeing the bag and the business card and following then really helps as well. So that's a great example. Thank you, Fiona. Always the best. And finally, referrals. So referrals are to invite your existing audience to share your email with friends or family or colleagues or whoever might benefit. Referrals are tricky to track unless you use a specific referral discount code or something like that. So the way you can do this is you can offer a reward or discount for referring a friend. So let's say that you are a product-based business and you have a customer who has ordered 3 times in the last year, and you can figure all of this out. You can actually, if you're using at least Klaviyo, you can get down to the specifics of how many times they've ordered in the last however many days. You can send them a discount code and say, we really appreciate you shopping with us as often as you have. If you would like to refer any of your friends, family, or colleagues to us, they can use this code for 10% off, that sort of is a thing. You create a specific code for that person or for that type of referral, and then you can see over your tracking of your purchases how many people use that code, and then you can figure out the referral system that way. It's a little bit email marketing plus, but it isn't a bad thing to consider. You can look for just the simple case of not even offering a discount, but encouraging with a personalized email, encouraging a repeat customer to forward an email to someone who they think would enjoy it. You can create that referral link or unique code for them specifically. You see this happen all the time with collaborations with influencers and things like that. Liz 10, Liz 20 sort of codes like that. You can create those for specific customers if you think that they are connected in a way that they would be able to share out a referral code. And you can doing this basically thanks loyal customers. So referrals are not necessarily going to be your first step to list building. I'd focus on your sign up form, your lead magnet, working on promoting it on social media, and encouraging it at in-person events, including networking events, not just events where you're selling. And then referrals might be a step that you take after you kind of have email up and running in a way that you're happy with. Any questions? Okay. Maria gave me a nod. Thank you very much. That's helpful. Thank you very much. Paid list building. Okay, so the process of growing your email list involving the use of paid advertising to attract and convert new subscribers. This is where we take what we learned in organic and we put a little bit of petrol behind it. So we put a little bit of spend. So I don't know about you, but I don't have a whole lot of spend to be putting behind things. So I have to be strategic about what I'm deciding to do. In this instance, we're going to talk about 4 different types of paid list building: Facebook and Instagram boosted posts, Google ads, collaboration, and retargeting ads. So boosted posts help you target the right people with the right message at the right time. What this means is that you can create an organic post on social media as much as if you were going to sit here today and post a picture of my coffee cup. I hope you wouldn't have my coffee cup. That'd be a bit strange. We'd be on one seat. But if you posted a picture of your coffee cup and you were to put it up on your Instagram, as you post it, Instagram has gotten very clever at saying, would you like to boost that? For this amount of money, for this amount of days, I can show that to 80,000 people. And then you go, okay, well, that's not great. That's not bad. How 80,000 people feels like a lot of people to get to see this. Be conservative in how and what you boost. Don't be afraid of boosting. I would recommend experimenting with boosting. I have boosted, not for litter marketing, but for other projects, I've boosted no more than 3 days at a 15 euro max budget. So that's €5 a day for an audience boost. I like to boost information-based content. I like to boost value-based content. So if I'm giving a fact, if I'm giving something worthwhile, I like to put that there. And I don't boost it to my, I don't, you can, when you're choosing your options for who you want to see this post on Facebook or Instagram as a boosted post, I don't choose website clicks. So I choose follows because my job is to get them to follow the social media page from the boosted post. And then the rest of the content on the social media page will drive them to the website, in my opinion. Because if you are asking one thing to do too much, like if you're asking a picture of a mug to get you an email subscriber, that's a little tricky. But if you're asking any picture of a mug to bring to someone who also really likes yellow mugs, they didn't know about me and my yellow mugs. Now they're going to follow me because I've got a lot of pictures of my yellow mug with facts. And then they see, oh, my Instagram story a few days later because I'm a new page that they're following. So I'm going to be pushed at them a little bit more in the beginning. They're going to see that, oh, I also have a newsletter because I'm talking about my newsletter and my social media. That's taking them to my website, which has a clear sign up form. So when we use paid media with organic strategies in combination, we are simply boosting what we're building organically with a little bit of ad spend behind it, as I like to call it. So you can promote things like you can promote an organic post with value, or you can promote things like your lead magnet, like your recipe book, like your smoothie book, like your free coloring book page, like your tips for, getting stains out of the carpet, things like that. Even if you are a product or service-based business, you can still use social media boosted posts to provide value, capture interest, and convert it to whatever your goal is. If your goal is followers, if your goal is website visitors, etc. You need to set that goal, but you need to create the content with that goal in mind. You can talk about events or product launches with early access for subscribers. This will go into our scheduling question for later. And you need to always be sure to provide a clear and compelling reason to join the list at all. Google Ads. So Google Ads reach people who are actively searching for what you're interested in. I don't do paid ads, which is Google Ads specifically. What you can do with a Google ad is you can promote a lead magnet tied to common search terms. This has a lot to do with keywords that are attached to your business, that are attached to budgeting for your business. Talking about Google Ads, we are starting to veer into paid ads territory, which is not my territory. So I can just tell you kind of the bare basics. You can promote and encourage people to your sign up page, to your landing page, again, where they have a way to sign up that lands in the bucket that then they receive the messages you're creating. You can send them a special offer, a consultation offer, and it can be a free resource related to what they're already Googling. So if your lead magnet tool is related to sun cream and someone is Googling, how do I avoid sunburn? And you create sun cream and you advertise on that specific phrase or those keywords. Maybe someone's looking for an Irish business that makes sun cream, even though I know sun cream is really hard to make. You can advertise on those words in your business. Google will put your business forward above organic searches. So paid ads is a whole other game to this. I kind of wanted to talk today about the organic strategy into using some paid strategy totally. If you have an unlimited budget, which God, I hope that you do someday, paid ads is a great place to go with that because investing the money in will bring money back out. Input produces output, but there is definitely a lot of experimentation that I would recommend talking to someone in the paid ad space before you start fiddling around. The thing about Google Ads, unlike the social ads or boosted posts that we just talked about, is that they appear in front of people who are searching specifically for keywords. So rather than the algorithm suggesting someone to receive your ad, a keyword ad, they will have searched that term, and Google, because you have put money behind that, will put the ad in front of them. So it is worthwhile if you can really niche down and narrow your marketing into a specific set of terms that you know your potential customer is searching. Collaborations are really worthwhile. You can work with influencers or like-minded brands. There are businesses out there that are in your industry which are not your competition. So if you are in an industry where you make shoes but you don't make socks, and somebody makes socks and they don't make shoes, there is no reason for you to see that person as a competition. You can collaborate. You can have a relationship professionally and digitally and on social media of saying, you know, when you buy a pair of our shoes, we'll include a pair of Liz's socks or vice versa. What that does by creating that collaboration is it creates access to two markets. So you have your market and you have access to the market that the other business is building. So when you are considering a collaboration, you want to, there's a few things you can do. You could do a giveaway. I don't know how well giveaways work so well on social media anymore. They worked for a time when I worked for the jewelry company. We did quite a few giveaways, and the requirements were always the same. Follow both the pages, comment on this account, tag someone, etc. It's all really similar, right? I said that when we started this, you'd start to see a lot of the techniques that we're covering very briefly here go out to your own experience. So when you go on your phone after this, you'll see, if you go onto social media or if you go onto even a news website, you'll see a lot of what these Google ads and paid ads and things like that are doing and what they're putting in front of you. When you're looking at a collaboration, you could do a giveaway, you could do a discount code or freebie for their followers. This is something sometimes that influencers will do. They'll talk about a product and then they'll say, use my code for 10% off, et cetera, et cetera. You can find someone who is the right influencer for your industry, for your vertical, for your idea, and you can partner with them. There is going to be, the bigger the influencer, there's going to be a cost associated with that. And it is just that underbelly that I talked about there needing to be some sort of ad spend. You would love if someone would just talk about your product to their 1.5 million followers, but they make money by charging people to talk about their products to their 1.5 million followers. So it's just important to be aware when you go for a collaboration to go with someone who makes sense for you, makes sense for your brand, and is within your budget. Retargeting ads are ads that follow website visitors or social engagers with a gentle nudge to join your list while you're still top of their mind. So we see this all the time. We see this when we are looking for something online, like runners, or today I'm in a pair of shorts, which is a regret, but if you're looking for shorts, you may go as far as to look at the product page. You may even add it to your cart. You may not do anything with it, but then for the next 2 days, every time you go online, suddenly these runners are everywhere that you go, or they are, you know, you visit Instagram and the first 3 stories on your Instagram story page or whatever it is are about the shorts that you were looking at. This is done through paid ads. It's done through specific cookie tracking. It's done through paid spend. So this isn't something that happens naturally. So somebody who isn't putting any budget behind anything isn't going to get retargeting ads. They're going to get retargeting ads when they put budget behind that. So that's why it sometimes feels like you're being tracked around the place. I remember when I was applying for the jewelry business, I had done a lot of research on them for my application. And then for the week before my job interview with them, I got a bunch of ads for their jewelry because I had spent so much time researching them as a business that Google was like, oh, she's clearly very interested in these Celtic rings. We should show them to her, which was hilarious because I wasn't sure if I was going to get the job. And then every time I opened my phone, it was my potential job interview was just there in my face when I was trying to be on Instagram. Very entertaining, a little bit creepy, but it's just the case of someone expressing an interest in receiving messaging having to do with it. So Fiona has dropped a question in, does the boosted post go to non-followers only? You can select that when you are choosing when and what to boost. So I choose to boost a post to people who are a similar audience, but aren't following me. So it is a case of people who the algorithm, because social media has 50 million algorithms running at once, it's the algorithm that's attached to your business stream or your account, and they engage with your business as a follower, and then you say, I want to show this to people who are like them but not them, the algorithm will find similar account types and show the product or show the post to them there. Boosted Instagram and Facebook posts are not the same thing as Instagram and Facebook ads. Those are done through the ad manager. Those are really specific sort of targeted conversations we're having. That's why I started on boosted posts, because boosted posts are just taking what's already an organic post and putting a little bit of ad spend behind it. So it's not going to be perfect, but it is a way to get a little bit more mileage out of an organic post and experiment with it, because fundamentally Everything is done by experimentation. So that's what I said about, to start using email marketing, you have to start having an email marketing account. There's no way around it. To start experimenting with it, you want to set a goal, set a window to review that goal, and track the results to determine the effectiveness. So it's all about not taking the whole marathon in one stride, taking it step by step and saying, okay, this month I want to try and offer that free coloring book page, or I want to try and promote calls with me as a service provider. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to talk about it on my social media. I'm going to create a blog post about this. I'm going to share out the blog post on my social media so that when people click it, they land on my website, and that takes them to a form to sign up for my newsletter, as well as sharing out the newsletter link directly, all around the topic of expertise, of value, of giving something before asking for a result. Real quickly, because we're coming up on the 1 hour, this one really flew. Thank you for sitting with me and for being a wonderful audience today. Your sending schedule. So your sending schedule, I recommend a 3-month day-to-day calendar mapping out all your communications. This is an accountability tool and a consistency tool. So I work with folks on doing their own versions of these. If you're sitting on the session now or you're watching the recording and you want to know what that looks like, what my template looks like, you can send me an email and I'll share the template out with you and sort of work on sort of how to get yourself started using it. But generally, I recommend a 3-month template. It can be really helpful if you do this by quarter. But if you're starting today, then I would start, August, September, October. I wouldn't let anything keep you from getting started. This idea of being like, oh, well, it's August, I won't start until September because August is already halfway over. That's not true. It's August 5th. You got plenty of time. But just generally sitting down and looking at a calendar and practicing what you're going to send, when you're going to send it, who you're going to send it to, will keep you accountable when the time comes to send the messaging. So these are three things to do when you have a sending schedule for strategy. So we've talked about list building. These are some of the strategies to consider. Plan with seasonality in mind. So think about what is coming up. Holidays, events, launches, slower periods, not so much, but it's important to consider. And then pace back 2 weeks. So if you create a product which is for Mother's Day, you are not going to start talking about your product on Mother's Day. You are going to start talking about your product 2 weeks out from Mother's Day, 3 weeks out from Mother's Day. You're not going to start talking about your Mother's Day product for Valentine's Day. You see so it's the principle of saying, when I make something or do something for this period of time, when do I have to talk about it out here? When is too far out and when is too close? You can move those dates around. You can play with them. But fundamentally, what you need to do is just understand, when is your audience thinking about the problem or want that you can solve? And when do they start to think about that? So like I said, it's August. We're thinking about back to school in the next couple of weeks. What are some things that have to do with that? New uniforms, new books, new this, that, or the other, new stationery. Are you a stationery person? Maybe you make stationery. I have been out of school for a long time, but every September I have the urge to buy new notebooks. It's a time of year where I buy new notebooks. I buy my planner for the next quarter, all that sort of stuff. So you need to get into the mind of your ideal subscriber and customer to make that work. I know we're up on the 1 o'clock, so I'll go quickly through the last two, and then I'll be around for questions. Focus on value first, conversion second. Build trust via your sending calendar. So make sure that you are focusing on consistent messaging. Even if your consistent messaging is once a month and you have 3 months of email planned out, that is consistent messaging. You don't need to message every single month, but having the next 3 emails planned out and the next 3 dates tagged in your calendar to tell you I needed to send an email on the 12th of August and I didn't. So I'm going to send it on the 13th. I'm not going to send it on the 28th. I'm going to send it near enough to the date that I nominated why I'm going to send it. It will help you keep accountable, which is a big part of this. You've got a lot of plates spinning. So consistently applying value, even if it's 1 email a month, will get your email started. And finally, growing your schedule as your list grows. So as you start to send to more and more people, as your list grows, as more people start to subscribe, they're going to have different needs. So you might send to your VIP customers, you might send to them once a quarter and just say, you're amazing, thanks so much for all you do. You're going to go to your 3-month calendar and say, okay, the 3rd month of every quarter, I send an email to my VIPs and you put that into your calendar. You might send an email to your you're going to send up an automatic message to send out to your new subscribers, but you're going to engage with different segments, like we talked about in tips and terms from session 1, different segments, different demographics. You can create different groups to contact. The more that your list grows, the more segmented your sending is going to get. So you're going to go up from sending once a month to maybe twice a month, 3 times a month to different groups of people. So when you get started with just one email a month, but you get used to the idea of a sending schedule, of a cadence, of a regularity, that will help you when your list starts to grow, as it will when you apply organic and paid strategies. Thank you very much for your time. I said I would be available for questions after. So before I go for that, I will just drop this up here. This is the third and final session of the Empowered Email session. I decided to go real basic with this. We're going to go into a MailChimp account and we're going to create an email. So we are going to go to the point of how do I start an email? How do I type into the email? How do I set my audience? All that sort of stuff. So Empowered Email Marketing, the third session is called Hit Send, on Tuesday, September 2nd, the same time as today. And we are going to learn how to send our first email using MailChimp. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to everyone who was very patient with the recording.